I've actually never seen what it looks like live. We're live. Hi, Steph.
Hey, hi, Sarah.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. Okay. For all of you that are joining, I'm going to give everyone a few minutes because this is my very first time using this platform. We normally have all of our webinars on a platform called GoToWebinar, but this is our first time using our new one. So I'm going to give everyone a few minutes to join. Steph, I'm going to see if I can make it go live on Instagram, and then we'll just get started. Let me see. How do I get rid of this? Let's see. What do you see on your screen? Do you see just me?
I see you, a split screen of you and me.
Okay.
With our names on the bottom.
Okay, cool. Let me see. Share with viewers. No, that's not it. Well, I don't know. Well, I have no idea. I'm going to test this chat box really fast. Oh, that's a private chat with you.
I was like, I can see it. Chat with everyone in the studio.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll just give everyone a few minutes. Steph, where are you dialed in from?
I'm in Dallas, Texas.
Awesome.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's finally starting to get warmer and sunnier here, so I am full launching spring. I'm ready.
My husband just left the house and he said it's supposed to be 90 degrees in Austin today. So I feel like that's very hot, very early.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
And meanwhile, I think in the Northeast where my family is, they're having like a crazy snowstorm right now.
Then my co-founder just got to Jersey and I just got like a notification on my phone that there was like an earthquake in New York and New Jersey.
You know what? It must be the eclipse. There's just some weird energy going on right now.
In the air. I know. It's so true. Okay. So for those of you that are on, if you will, you'll see like a chat screen on the right-hand side. Let us know where you are dialed in from. It's always just kind of fun to see where everyone is located. I'm in Austin, Texas, and Steph, you're in Dallas.
Dallas. Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So I just really want to be respectful of people's time. So this is recorded. After each webinar, we always send a post-webinar email with all the notes that we discussed, all the resources that Steph will give you guys, plus a link to the recording. So if anyone joins late, they can always access this for free at any time post our webinar. So let's get started.
Yay, let's do it.
Okay, well, for everyone that's on, thank you so much. My name is Sarah Hollingsworth. I'm the founder of Populist, a simplified baby registry platform. I'm a mom of two. I have an almost 2 and an almost 5-year-old, both girls, Amelia and Zoe. And this webinar series is called Solicited Advice, which is sort of a play on word for receiving unsolicited advice when you are becoming a parent, which I think we can all appreciate and relate to at some point or another. And I don't know if it ever ends. So anyway, with that, it was just really important for me to create a content series to find the experts to deliver the information that I wished I had when I was pregnant. I was the first of my friends and sister, and there was so many things I just didn't know and still don't. And a topic like prenatal vitamins would have been so helpful for me when I was pregnant with my first, and that's why I tapped my friends at WeNatal. And Steph, I'm so honored to have you here with us. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for having me. And I do want to preface with, we're going to get a little nitty gritty today with science, but I was just like you. I still am. I have a master's in nutrition. I am in the weeds of all this all day, and even I get overwhelmed. So, just bear with us. You're all learning. The fact that you are here today and listening to this, you are, taking charge of your health. So just make sure that you, feel empowered with that information. So I'll do a quick intro of myself. So I'm Steph Kirksey. I am the Director of Content and Partnerships at WeNatal. My background is in nutrition. I worked as a clinical nutritionist, but it wasn't until almost 3 years ago, my husband and I were struggling to get pregnant. And I heard through the grapevine this amazing new prenatal company that was actually pre-launch when I heard about them through Kelly Levesque and Mark Hyman. I'm like, if they're talking about this prenatal company, like I need to be involved. So I reached out to Ronit and Vita, our co-founders. And I just started learning and helping them with content. And fast forward 2.5 years later, I'm now working with them full time, and I have a 20-month-old son. And now looking back, just like you, Sarah, looking back, I wish I knew all of this information as well. We'll get a little bit into the men's fertility health and all of that, but it turns out it was my husband's sperm, poor quality sperm, that was blocking us from being able to get pregnant. So just
Wow.
like so many of you, there's so much that we can learn, that we can be doing to not only optimize our fertility, but our pregnancy, and then just the future health of our baby and our family. So yeah, that's a little bit how I got into WeNatal.
So I'm so inspired by Ronit and Vita, because they decided to enter the prenatal vitamin world when there's already so many options on the market. I'm not sure, like, I know exactly the reason why behind it. If you do, can you share, like, why WeNatal? Why was that something they wanted to create?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ronit and Vita, I'll kind of rewind a little bit. So they were best friends. They worked in corporate world together, went through life together. They dated in LA. They got married. They both got pregnant at the same time. And then unfortunately, they both had a miscarriage a week apart. And at the time, Ronit was very involved in functional medicine. She was actually working with Dr. Mark Hyman. And so she was kind of already into this whole picture, effect of functional medicine. And when she went to her doctor, her OBGYN, her doctor just said, "Oh, miscarriages are common, just keep trying." And that did not sit well with Ronit, and Vita had a similar experience. And so they set out to do the research, worked with other functional medicine experts, fertility specialists, and they found that there's actually so much that you can be doing to help prevent miscarriages, and it has to do with nutrition and lifestyle. And so Ronit and Vita set out to make originally a men's prenatal. They didn't even have the women's prenatal on their radar, because it's, there's already a ton of out there on the market. It's a pretty saturated market as far as supplements. So they didn't intend to make a prenatal for women, just for men. But then when they started to dig into the research, they found that a lot of prenatal vitamins out there were lacking in either dosage or didn't have bioavailable forms, and they were either too expensive or their pill count was 8. So they set out to make a prenatal company called WeNatal to bring men into the equation and really kind of attack this whole fertility, pregnancy, parenthood together, as it should be, right? I mean, it takes two to make a baby, to grow a baby, to, to bring a baby up. So it just makes sense to bring the men into the equation. And that's kind of how WeNatal was born.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm just going to ask like the most basic prenatal question.
Let's do it.
And maybe a lot of people don't know this, but like, why do we need to take one? Can't we just get what we need through food? Like, why are they so important? I guess is like just kind of where I want to start from the beginning.
That's a great question. So in a perfect world, my answer would be get your nutrients from your food first, because that's just the best way that your body knows how to absorb and digest these nutrients. But the sad reality is that our food just is not as nutrient dense as it once was. There's so many different factors that go into it. It's the way that our food is produced, our farming, our pesticide use, even just the quality of our packaged foods and our processed foods. People just are not getting the nutrients that we need and that we used to, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And in fact, I heard a really astonishing statistic the other day that to get the nutrient equivalent of an orange from 50 years ago, you'd have to eat about 21 oranges to get that nutrient density. Isn't that crazy? So
yes.
Yeah. So like our food just simply isn't as nutrient dense as it once was. So we need to supplement with prenatal vitamins. And the key word is supplement. They're not to replace a healthy diet. They are intended to supplement, to kind of fill in the gaps that you might otherwise be missing through your diet. So yes, in short, the sad reality is that everyone should be taking a prenatal vitamin all through preconception, pregnancy, and postpartum to help support your baby and your body.
So yeah, astounding stat, completely not surprising either, which is also sad. So you're walking through, okay, so we know that we need to supplement with a prenatal for the reasons you just shared.
Yes.
You walk into Walgreens or your grocery store. For us, it's HEB, wherever you are, and you have so many over-the-counter options for prenatals.
Yes.
Your doctor could even prescribe you a prenatal.
Mhm.
I mean, when you are like walking in those aisles, can you share like what are we supposed to be looking for? I mean, you can stand there and look at the labels, but if you're not 100% sure, you're like, oh, well, this label looks nice. I like this design. I like the way it looks. Maybe I'll get that. Like, can you help us sort of understand what we should be looking for?
Totally. So, it can be overwhelming. There's a few different things. So the number one thing that my number one recommendation for prenatals, supplements, or even food is to turn over the label and look at the ingredients. That's a really great place to start. So you want to make sure that there's not a lot of added ingredients in there. So if you see a list, there's like 10, 15, 20 words that you don't understand, that you don't see, you know that there's most likely a lot of added junk and fillers and excipients in there that are going to make it either cheaper, they're going to fill it. So you want to look for the minimal ingredients. That's kind of number one. Another important thing to consider is if it's third-party tested. So third-party testing, for those of you that don't know, it's like a report from a third party, so someone outside of the supplement company that's going to give an unbiased report of what's in the supplement. So what you're saying is on the label is actually inside. So third-party testing is very, very important. It's kind of like, that stamp to show that it's valid. It's what they say is in there is in there. So that's another important thing to look for. Another important thing is this folate versus folic acid. And we can get into this a little bit more when we kind of talk about the nutrients, but you want to always look for folate instead of folic acid. Folic acid is the synthetic. You also want to look for a wide variety of nutrients. There are some prenatals on the market that only have 10 to 12 nutrients. For example, WeNatal for her has 24. So you also want to make sure there's a wide variety of nutrients at, the research-backed amounts that are actually going to help make a difference in your health. A few other things to consider are the pill count. I mean, there are some really great prenatal companies out there that require you to take 6 to 8 pills every day. And I know for me, even not pregnant, that's really hard. And then, if you are pregnant, you're, swallowing these big pills can be a big task too. So making sure that there's a low pill count is another, thing to definitely consider. So those are some of the major things to look out for. And I will share this statistic because it was quite alarming when we learned this, but a study came out last year that 90% of pregnant women are undernourished. And even on top of that, that study showed that 99% of the supplements on the market do not have adequate amounts to support mama and growing baby. So it's sad that there's a lot of products out there on the market, but you do have to be a little bit more educated and kind of look for the ones that are going to be better. And unfortunately, it's hard to weed through those, but hopefully, walking away today, everyone will have a little bit more confidence and understanding of what specifically to look for that's going to make a good prenatal.
So I assume the prenatal is how you guys designed yours. WeNatal specifically took into account how depleted pregnant women are.
Yes.
And I assume that's another reason why it's so important to take one.
Yes. And it's crazy. So, you think about the RDAs, which is the recommended daily allowance for certain nutrients. These were actually made, the RDAs were made back in World War II to prevent soldiers from getting rickets and diseases, but they're not actually designed, and these numbers are not optimal amounts for just the average person, especially in today's world, and especially if you're pregnant or lactating. So the RDAs are in fact really, really low. So a study came out last year, or it was the end of 2022, I believe, that was an updated of years and years and years of studies, updated amounts of nutrients to help support pregnant women. So it just takes a long time for the science to get caught up. So the RDAs are in fact really low. That's why if you look at our formula, you'll see that some of our nutrients are like 200 times the daily allowance. And that might seem quite alarming to some people, but it's based on the most recent science, whereas these RDAs tend to be a little bit outdated in their recommendations.
What does RDA stand for again? Say that one more time.
Recommended daily allowance.
And it hasn't been updated since World War II?
So that's when they were created. I can't speak specifically on like when, but that's when like the idea of the RDAs were created.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. So science, I think the average for science like to come out is like 15 years to get like caught up with all the studies and then to come out and make recommendations. So, sometimes doctors, OBs are a little bit, undereducated when it comes to the most recent science. And that's what our formulas are based on, was this recent study that came out.
Got it. Okay, thank you. So 90% plus of us are depleted during pregnancy. Yeah. We know we need to find a very good balanced prenatal to help us for all the reasons you're describing. Yeah. But for the people that are on the line that this is their first pregnancy, can you just give like a quick overview of like that, so they understand like what's happening in their body that's making them depleted? Like, can you just give us like a quick overview?
Yeah. So for one, all the things that you're eating and the nutrients are literally going to support and build a life. So for example, iron, when you're pregnant, your iron doubles. Your blood volume doubles when you're making a baby. So that's just one small example of what's kind of going on. But everything that you're eating, all these nutrients are literally going and being the building blocks for a new baby. So that's important. Your body's also changing. I mean, I know when I was pregnant, I was very nauseous. I had all these hopes. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to, have salads and eggs every day. But the first couple of months were really rough and I could not keep a lot of things down. I was eating really bland foods. So it was really, really important that I was, not only taking a prenatal vitamin during, but also before to help, get me prepared, build up those nutrient stores before. So basically your body, you're building a new life. So it's really important. And our bodies are smart. If they're lacking, in a certain nutrient, it's going to take it from your body and give it to the baby, leaving mom depleted. So here we are going into pregnancy already under our optimal amounts of nutrition. We're giving it away to our baby. And then of course, when the baby comes, we might not be sleeping, we're breastfeeding, we're giving even more of our nutrition and our energy to the baby. So it's really about kind of arming ourselves with that foundation and making sure we are setting ourselves up for success to support baby and mom.
I had a friend, she was pregnant with her first and lost a tooth during her pregnancy. This is not to scare anyone, because she was calcium deficient in her vitamin, but also in her nutrition. And so the baby obviously is taking what it needs to grow, and it's not about us anymore. And she lost a tooth.
Right. Isn't that crazy? I mean, our bodies are fascinating in that way. It's like it has a priority and it is not going to stop. It's going to make that baby the best that it can. And if it has to leach some calcium from your bones and give it to the baby, then that's what it's going to do.
So can people start taking a prenatal before pregnancy, or what's the team at WeNatal sort of like recommendation on when mom starts taking a prenatal?
Yes. So our recommendation is at least 3 to 6 months before. And we get that number because it takes about 100 days for an egg to develop and mature. So it is true that women are born with all of the eggs that they'll have for the rest of their life. But contrary to popular belief, you can actually improve your egg quality. So we say that 3 to 6 month time frame, because it takes about 100 days for an egg to mature, and you can really work on improving the health of that egg. But the more time, the better. And for those of you that are listening and you're already pregnant and you didn't take it in preconception, that's totally okay too. We're just talking about, your ideal situation to optimize the health of you and your baby. So at least 3 to 6 months before. And we also recommend, this is a talk for a whole nother day, but we also recommend making lifestyle changes along with, taking a prenatal, at least 3 to 6 months, like exercising, focusing on, your mental health, your stress. And a lot of these things you're going to be doing in preconception, you're going to carry throughout pregnancy, and that you can really carry on through the rest of your life. All of these good practices are going to help set the foundation for a healthy future. So at least 3 to 6 months before. And then even though we call our supplements a prenatal, it's so important, obviously, to take throughout pregnancy and then during postpartum, especially if you're breastfeeding. I think a lot of women or people in general have like the 6-week postpartum thing in their head, because that's when they get cleared, to be able to have sex. And, that 6-week kind of gets like stamped on, but postpartum is so much longer than just 6 weeks. It can be years. I mean, it can take a while for your body, to your hormones to get back to normal, and just your body. So it's so important to continue taking the prenatal in postpartum as well.
And then what about men? The first time I ever saw a prenatal vitamin for men was when I was introduced to WeNatal. And I was so thrilled to see it, but I had never even considered that maybe my partner should have been taking one. I mean, so I still have so many questions about like the folate versus folic acid. Like there's some specifics I want to talk about. We have a question about choline, but for the dads, for the men, why do they need to consider taking a prenatal, and when?
Yes, great question. So men, we know now from research that men are 50%, their sperm are 50% of not only, getting pregnant, conception, but they are also 50% responsible for miscarriages, for pregnancy, the way that the pregnancy goes, pregnancy health, early pregnancy, low birth weight. Their sperm is responsible for the future health of the baby. So men need to be part of this equation. We need to bring them in because their sperm is going to impact the baby's health and mama's health. So men also have this really incredible ability to make new sperm every 72 to 74 days. So we also recommend men get on a prenatal at least 3 to 6 months before. So from this day forward, if you count from here to 74 days, if you were a man, you'd have an entirely new, fresh batch of sperm. And for men, the attention is really going to be on antioxidants, because sperm are very, very sensitive to damage and heat. And actually, that's why men's testicles are outside of the body, because sperm like to be around 93 degrees. So also making sure men are not putting laptops on their lap. They're staying out of the heat and the sauna, because that can damage sperm as well. But the antioxidants are going to help neutralize and protect the sperm DNA from being damaged, from all of our everyday stressors, and from just our lifestyle. So it's really important to focus on antioxidants for men, because they're going to help really reverse and protect sperm and get them to be healthy, to go on and help make a healthy baby. So at least 3 to 6 months for both men and women.
Thank you for sharing that. Do you see a lot of like your prenatal subscriptions for mom also have it for dad?
Yes.
I feel like you guys are really the only people having this conversation with dads, like talking about their sperm and why it's important for it to remain healthy and stay healthy. So I'm just curious if you see like a good 50-50 sort of partnership come into the table.
We do. And it's so awesome to see. And I think, men, I think a lot of times get put on the sideline for, this whole process. So I know, at least for me and my husband and a lot of my, coworkers and their husbands, like they really enjoyed being part of this, journey, like feeling like they are contributing early days. We love, it's our favorite when we see, men and women purchasing together. And in fact, for all subscribers for WeNatal, we offer a free nutrition consult. And so when we see a man and a woman come together for the nutrition consult, that's just like chef's kiss for us. It's so cool to see that they're really, doing this together. And yeah, it's so cool to see. And it's funny on Instagram, the content that we put out about sperm health specifically is like performs the best and gets the most shares, the most tags, because we know women are sending it off to their husband and
tagging them.
Yeah.
Hey, did you see this?
Exactly.
Amazing. Well, good. I'm so happy to hear that. That's really, really amazing. Okay. Folate versus folic acid.
Yes.
What is the difference? Which one should be in our prenatal vitamin? And can you just explain it to us in a way that's super easy to understand, because I still don't get it.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So folate, I'm sure everyone has heard of folate or, folic acid. Unfortunately gets used interchangeably, but it's very different. So first of all, let's talk about the importance of folate.
Okay.
So folate is so important for baby's brain. It helps to protect against neural tube defects. And so folate is the original form of vitamin B9. Folic acid is actually the synthetic form. And the reason a lot of prenatal companies or supplement companies will use folic acid is because it's cheaper, it's a little more stable to produce. So that's why you'll see it in a lot of supplements. But unfortunately, 40 to 60% of the population of everybody has a gene mutation called the MTHFR gene SNP. And most people don't even know that they have it. But if you have that gene mutation, you can't process the synthetic form of folate, which is folic acid. So if you are taking a supplement, you have that gene mutation, you're not going to be absorbing or using any of that folic acid. So it's useless.
Right.
And so that's why it's so important. Unless you have, you can do a test with, with your doctor. You can get your blood tested to see if you have that gene mutation. And if you don't, then you're okay. But most people aren't getting tested, and so it's useless. So you always want to look for folate, let me think of the word. So methylfolate is another word for it. What else? You don't want methylcobalamin or methyltetra. I can't even say this. Metratetraldrofolate.
Okay.
So for any of you two that are like listening to this and you're like, what the heck? Feel free. Once we send out this email tomorrow, I'll put my contact info in there, and I'm happy to send you more information, resources, the specific words to look out for, because it can be confusing. But yes, you always want to look for folate over folic acid. And for men too, folate is an important antioxidant and nutrient to help with sperm health. So folate is also important for men. And if men have, that has that MTHFR gene SNP, they're not going to be able to absorb that folic acid either. So hopefully that helped. And the recommended amount, I don't know if we want to get into the specifics now of like the recommended doses, but you do want to look for at least 400 micrograms of folate.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so just to be clear, around 40% can't absorb the folic acid in their body, but 100% of people could absorb folate.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Got it. So we want folate. Okay. 100%. Got it. Okay.
100%. Always go for folate. You're safe that way.
For men and women. Okay.
Yes.
So one of the things that I learned about after both of my babies, I don't even know if it was in my prenatals, was choline.
Yes.
Can we spend some time talking about choline? What does it do? Why is it important? Is it in a prenatal? Is it a supplement to your prenatal? Can you just help us understand sort of like the quick overview of the importance of choline?
Yes, absolutely. So choline is probably the number one nutrient that is going to help with your baby's brain. And so choline is so important. Most prenatal vitamins do have choline, but most of them are lacking. So choline is essential not only for your baby's brain, but it also helps to prevent neural tube defects. It's going to help support with the growth of the baby's spinal cord. It also helps with gene expression, tissue production. And there's been studies to show that it even can help the baby's cognition and cognitive function later in life.
Okay.
So choline is really, really, really important. Another study just came out to show that the average intake for choline for pregnant women is around 285, which is half of the recommended dose. So you want to make sure you are getting at least 400 milligrams of choline. For pregnant women, you want to, the amount is 450. So if your prenatal has close to that, that's amazing. And then for when you're breastfeeding, 550 milligrams. So, and you can also find choline in food. And actually, if you just have one egg has like, I think 147 milligrams.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if you're taking a prenatal that has a good amount, at least 400 milligrams, and you're having eggs most every day, then you're good. You're eating that amount. So if you're a vegetarian or vegan, that's definitely one choline that you'll want to make sure to pay attention to, because choline is mostly found in animal proteins, meats, liver, eggs, and same thing with the B vitamins. So those are two definitely you want to keep on your radar if you are a vegetarian.
Okay, thank you so much for that.
Yes.
Okay, one of the questions that we got on Instagram was, do I need a DHA supplement?
Yes.
Do we?
Yes. So DHA is part of the omega-3 fatty acids category. Okay. And omega-3s are called essential fatty acids because our body cannot make them. So we can make a lot of different nutrients and things in our body naturally, but omega-3s are the ones that you have to get from supplementation or diet because you can't make them. So DHA specifically is a type of fat that is really, really important for baby's brain. So omega-3s in general can help with helping to increase your fertility health, helping to increase progesterone, encourage ovulation. It can help even help prevent postpartum depression. But it's really, really, really important, especially that DHA is important for baby's brain growth and development. And so you want to look for at least, I think, 600 milligrams of total omega-3s. And for example, for WeNatal, we actually have a different product. So we designed it not to be included in our prenatal, and we did that intentionally. So there are some prenatal companies that do have the fish oil inside of the formula, but we chose not to because fish oil is one of those ingredients that can become unstable pretty easily. It can become oxidized if it's exposed to heat or light, and it can just become unstable. So for that reason, we decided to keep it separate from our prenatals. But it's definitely just as important to take alongside in preconception. It's going to also help with sperm production, egg development, and then also it's going to help support baby's brain and even eye health during pregnancy and during breastfeeding if you're breastfeeding. So you want to have at least 600 grams of total omegas, and you want to make sure that at least 225 are from your DHA, because that's that really important fat that's going to help with baby's brain development.
Okay, great. Yeah, I remember getting an over-the-counter or not prescription prenatal with my second, and I didn't realize that the omega-3s were in the vitamin. I actually think it was a gummy, and I couldn't eat them for the fact alone that it just smelled like fish.
Yeah,
and you're already queasy and nauseous in the first trimester, and I was just like, I can't. I don't think I can get this down. And it's like this little gummy, and I had to take 3 or 4. There was no way.
Yeah, fish oil is one of those things that like you even can look at it, and some of them are like so big, you smell. And in fact, if you smell it and it smells really fishy, there's a chance that it's actually been oxidized and it's gone bad. So let me see if I have, our fish oil, I'll show you because it's just so cute. I hope everybody can get their hands on our fish oil, because not only are they so cute, there is no fish taste, no burp. So it's so important to take throughout, to help support babies.
You had me at no burp.
What's that?
Had me at no burp.
Yes, no burp. But yeah, I mean, baby's brain, we talk about baby's brain because baby's brain actually grows the most during the first couple years of life. And especially, I think like the peak is during the 3rd trimester of pregnancy. So just more, it's just more evidence and reason that we should all be taking it during pregnancy and also in postpartum. And it can help support postpartum depression. It can help with your milk supply, with your breastfeeding. You can also get, healthy omegas in, foods like avocado, extra virgin olive oil, nuts and seeds, salmon. And the Mediterranean diet is the one actually that we recommend the most. It's the most studied, and it's been proven to be the best diet for pregnancy and postpartum because of those rich, healthy omegas.
Yeah, that makes sense. We had another question come in, and this person was wondering, is there a vitamin that they could take too much of during pregnancy or after?
Yeah. So if you think about, there's 2 different categories of vitamins. There's water soluble vitamins, and then there's fat soluble. The water soluble, if you have those in excess, you will just urinate them out. The 4 vitamins that are fat soluble are vitamins A, D, E, and K. So those are the ones that could store up in your body and could become toxic. So the number one, I would say that's more prevalent. The other ones, you don't see a ton of, toxicity or high levels, but vitamin A is one you definitely would want to be aware of. And if you look at our formula, it's a common question we get a lot because we have 1,350 micrograms, where the RDA is way lower than that. So it's kind of like a red flag to people. But the one important thing to look at when you're talking about vitamin A too is the type. So we have 2 different types of vitamin A. So there's carotenoids, and then there's the palmates. So if you have all of one kind, that's not great. You want to have a mix because some people actually cannot absorb one or the other, similar to like the folate versus folic acid. Some people do have a hard time of converting that vitamin A to the other type. So first of all, you want to make sure you have a mix of the carotenoids and the palmate for vitamin A. And then if you are taking a prenatal that has a higher amount of vitamin A like ours, you do want to be careful with taking foods like beef liver. A lot of people do take will have like little pieces of liver, but it's very, very high in vitamin A. So that's definitely something I would stay away from if you are taking a prenatal that has a high amount of vitamin A. But for the most part, if you are just taking a good quality prenatal like ours, you're going to be hitting all the amounts. You're not going to have to worry about really adding too much. As long as you're eating a healthy whole foods diet, you should be fine. But just that vitamin A, I definitely would keep your eye on.
Okay, sweet. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there, you said that was a common question that you guys get. Is there another common question or 2 that you hear and see all the time that you want to just share with us?
What do we get a lot? Yeah, I think the most common question is like, how come your amounts are so high? And again, like what we talked about with like the RDAs, they're really, really low. And there's just so much more science now to support that we need so much more, especially because we are all nutrient deficient. Some other questions we get is maybe like how to take it. When's the best time to take it? So because it is so potent and nutrient dense, some people do feel like especially if you take it on an empty stomach, that it could make you feel a little sick or nauseous. So we recommend, with any prenatal that you're taking, any vitamin, you want to take with food, especially prenatal vitamins that are going to have like higher B vitamins. They can tend to make you feel like a little jittery. So we recommend taking it, in the morning or with lunch, and try to stay away from taking it at night. You can certainly split it up. So you could take, since ours is a 3 serving size capsule, you can take one with breakfast, lunch, and dinner if you want. You could open them up, put them in a smoothie. Trying to think, I've kind of removed myself a lot from our customer service, but I think those are kind of the major questions of just like looking at the formula and being like, whoa, how come you have so much more vitamin A, or you have, so much more of this? And our answer is always, it's based on the most current research and science. Yeah. So
what are some specific reasons that someone might be prescribed a prenatal?
Oh, that's a great question. I will say ours is probably like one of the closest to being a prescription
Okay.
prenatal just because it is so potent.
Yeah.
But there are some situations where, you know, I mean, I would always consult with your doctor
Yes, of course.
and check your levels. But, you know, if someone is experiencing like severe nausea and vomiting and they're not keeping down the food,
Mhm.
you know, then they might have to supplement with extra. You know, if you have complications or like risk factors like preeclampsia or, you know, gestational diabetes, you might, you know, have to, you know, change or manipulate some of your nutrients. You know, so there might be some situations where people might need a little bit more of a tailored effect. But I would say definitely check with your doctor. We always recommend getting your labs, you know, drawn because Sarah, you could be we could be eating the same diet and, you know, taking the same supplements, but then when we go and get our blood drawn, we could have very different results. So it's always best, especially if you are like have a little bit of a complication or a different situation, then just work with your doctor. They can check your blood and then kind of adjust from there.
Okay, perfect. We only have 5 minutes left, which is always crazy. I told you these things fly by. So
fast.
I just want to say a few things. Kind of like what you alluded to in the beginning, I feel like as technology and information has becomes more and more readily available, we learn new things. And so I could not tell anyone on this call or anyone that listens to this later if I had folate versus folic acid in my prenatals. I don't know. I certainly wasn't educated on choline when I was pregnant with both of my kids. Again, I just didn't know. And I have 2 healthy, beautiful daughters. That's not to say we shouldn't be prioritizing these things now that we know. But again, I don't want anyone to feel like, oh shit, I made the wrong choice or I didn't do the right thing, because that's certainly not the case. And all we can do is just, you know, be better with the information that we now have. And if it's available to us, we can just make better choices for ourselves and our family. So
Absolutely. And how empowering is it to learn? I mean, for me, it's been such a great, you know, journey for myself because I get to learn about all this stuff too. And I was like you, Sarah, I mean, I have a master's in nutrition, and even I was like, all this information's overwhelming. And I'm like, I wasn't eating enough choline and, you know, vitamin D. And so, and my baby is beautiful, healthy, smart. So thank you for mentioning that again. You know, we just like to give information and science so that people can feel empowered to then take that information and do with it what they want. And I do want to mention we have an amazing blog on our website. If you go to WeNatal.com and there's you click on the learn button, we have a blog, and we have so many amazing resources for all things preconception, postpartum, you know, talking about men's health. And even though we do sell prenatals, and of course, you know, we want everyone to be on our prenatal because it's the best one on the market, but also we understand that it's not feasible for everyone, and we just want everyone to feel empowered. So even if you aren't a subscriber or try our products, please go to our website, learn, get information, start talking about it, bringing your partner on board. Because that's really our true mission, is to just empower couples and give them more information.
If there's one thing you hope people hear from you today from this session, like what's the number one takeaway you want people to feel like, yes, I heard that, I got it, I feel good?
I would say the number one thing is there's more that you can always do. And I don't mean that to be like condescending. I mean, like, don't feel powerless. Don't feel hopeless. Just like Ronit, you know, when she went to her doctor and they said, oh, miscarriages are common. Yeah, they're common, but it doesn't mean that it's right or that it's okay.
Or that it's just her fault.
Right, exactly. Right. And it's not just her fault. It was maybe her husband's, you know? So, you know, maybe, you know, there's always more you can do, or, you know, don't stop, like just keep going, keep empowering yourself, reading books, you know. And also another important thing is it should be fun.
Right.
Pregnancy and preconception and having a baby should also be really fun. And it doesn't have to be so, you know, even though we love to empower with education and science, but we're all human. We also, a big part of our recommendation is living an 80-20 lifestyle. If you go on vacation and you forget your prenatals and you don't take them for a week, it is not going to sabotage and mean that your baby's going to be any less healthy. So just, you know, make sure that you're having fun along the way and really kind of making sure that, you know, that's what life's all about, right? Is being happy and positive. So also just making sure you're not perfect all the time, because that's not healthy.
Not fun. And it's not fun. Yeah. I think what you said is so important. Like, wherever you are on your parenting journey, just don't settle if you know that there's more information out there. Like, don't settle with the one thing your doctor said if you feel like in your gut it's not right. I was misdiagnosed in my second pregnancy with a UTI, but I was actually an acute urinary retention, and I left my OB's office knowing that that diagnosis was not right. So I called 2 other physicians in my family, and then, you know, admitted myself to the emergency room, and sure enough, I was in acute urinary retention. So, you know, you just know, like, whether you're pregnant or trying, you just know your body better than anyone else. And so, yes, 100%, like, just don't settle with the information you're given. If you know in your gut, like, you know, that's not good enough for me.
Totally. Absolutely. You know yourself best, and it's okay to break up with your doctor or get a second opinion, or or even question there, because it's, like I said, doctors are well-intended, but they don't always have enough time to be educated and up to date on the most, you know, recent products or science. So it's okay to second guess and find, you know, other answers to make sure you feel comfortable. Yeah.
Well, Steph, it's been so much fun and such an honor to have you on. I'm so thankful for everything you know, everything you shared. We will send the post-webinar recording out this afternoon with a link to all the resources that Steph has shared. And then, you know, lots of information on how you guys can get in touch with Steph and the WeNatal team. And then you see on the banner, there's a free 30-day supply of fish oil with your purchase of a subscription. They're cute. She showed them and they don't smell. So it's a win.
Yes. And so Sarah, like Sarah mentioned, she'll send out some information. So if we're on DMs all the time too. So if you have questions, DM us. We're very, we love to chat to people and just give people as much information as we can. So
thank you, Steph. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.